Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Friday edition of the Paranormal Portal. I hope you all are doing great. It's it's been a day. I'm just telling you, and not a bad day for the most part. Although I got some weird stuff to get to at the end of my my monologue here, for lack of a better term. I don't know if these are monologues or not. They're just me telling you guys what's going on. But I'm here to tell you, I've had a weird evening, weird afternoon, I guess. It's been interesting. Like I said, I've been up since like 3:30 this morning. I couldn't sleep. I woke up, had a lot to do anyway, so I got up and did everything that I could before. I had to go with the missus and the minion and a friend down to another town near here to take care of some other issues, and we got back, and I don't know. It's just been one of those days. But I was recording a podcast with our good friend Cindy Goodbreak just an hour ago, and while I was recording it, I thought, well, let me just test some things out for the show tonight. You know, I just like to go through the settings, make sure everything's good. I've tried to get better at that because I think that some of our problems in the distant past were due to my lack of preparation and planning. So I try to plan. So I hit a different scene, and it shouldn't have screwed up the podcast recording at all anyway, because that's audio only. So it doesn't matter what scene is on the screens as far as my, the YouTube streaming that comes now. That's happening right now as we're streaming live on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. But I switched the scene, and it didn't switch to the scene that I set. It went right to the end credits. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I'm like pushing. And it kept going back to the end credits. And then finally it went to the scene. I clicked back to the main scene that if those of you on YouTube are seeing now. And I'm like, oh man, something's goofy, but okay, whatever. So I decided I wasn't going to touch it anymore during the recording of the podcast, because I was like, well, if I touch anything else, something else is going to go sideways. And this is going to go further downhill than it already just went. Now, I do honestly believe there's something to this fact that we talk about the paranormal all the time here on the show, all the time. Every show, every day of the week, some days several times a week, because we're recording podcasts on top of doing 7 shows a week. And so I'm probably recording anywhere from 10 to 12 shows per week minimum. And so that's more than once a day on some days, and sometimes 3 shows a day and then just 1 every other day. But the point is that I believe that by talking about it and by discussing it, it creates, for lack of a better term, it creates a magnetism of sorts. So in other words, that because I'm talking about this stuff, I'm thinking about it, people are discussing it, whether they're calling in or in the chat rooms or whatever, there's an energy to that. There's an energy to these discussions. And some of the weirdest things have gone on. And if you're listening the other night, on Wednesday night, when Don and I did our Wednesday episode, we replayed some of the weirdness that had happened in the past. Well, and the episode I'm speaking about was, of course, we were doing a show about black-eyed kids, or no, Men in Black rather, and we got knocked off the air. Could not reconnect for like 15 minutes. It was absolute hell. We did finally reconnect to the studio, and it was a live broadcast on TFR, and it created a weird feedback loop of degrading loops and just all kinds of weird strangeness. Now, as we played that on Wednesday night, people in the chat room were saying, oh my God, I got disconnected. Like 4 or 5 or 6 people had suddenly become disconnected at that same time. So it's like, what the hell's going on? So that happened during the recording of the podcast. And then we're just about at the end of the podcast. And I was thinking, we're getting about to that hour point. I better wrap this up. And as soon as that thought crossed my mind, I wasn't touching anything. And the credit scene came back all by itself. I was touching nothing. Came back on all by itself. I'm like, ugh. So I quick turned it back. It happened 4 times in a row, ladies and gentlemen. It went back. So since I finished recording the podcast, I've been running around smudging and stuff. It's like, okay, I got to knock down some of this energy now because it's just getting ridiculous. Is it for sure paranormal? No, it's not. But could it be? I think it could be, because it has, for lack of a better term, it doesn't seem like it's just random. it seems to have an intelligence to it. And granted, doesn't that sound perfect? I do a paranormal show, and wow, guess what? He's got weird stuff happening in the studio. Isn't that convenient? I understand that, and believe me, I hear that in my head first before any troll would ever bring it up. But honest to God, this is the truth. I'm not creating any drama, any kind of fabrications at all. Just strange things happen. Now, here's my question to all of you that are listening: should I re-record that podcast, or should I leave those weirdness things in there because they demonstrate some of the dynamic of what goes on here in doing this show about the paranormal? And I'm going to leave it up to you guys. So I certainly can re-record it, make a pristine second try. I'm sure I believe this stuff won't happen again, but if it should, then I'll deal with that. But should I leave it as is with those weirdness in it, or should I re-record it to make the best presentation possible for the podcast? I'm going to let you guys choose that for me. So weigh in if you would, please. So I got leave the weird in, leave the weird in. I got 4 people saying leave it in the YouTube chat room. I'm looking TFR chat. What do you guys think? Apparently they aren't thinking much of it at all right now. I love you guys. Let me know, you guys, in the TFR chat, if you have an opinion on this. I really seriously want you guys to help me, because I'm not sure what to do. The podcast is a new venture for the portal, and of course I want to always put our best foot forward so that we deliver the best podcast we possibly can. But on the other side of me is like, wait a minute, doesn't that kind of demonstrate what we're talking about in a rudimentary way? That the paranormal does happen when it happens, why it happens, however it happens. So that's literally why I'm torn about this, and that's literally why I'm here asking you guys what you think. So, again, leave it be. Okay. Give Weird a chance. Rand Electric. Leave it. All right. So it looks like it's pretty unanimous. Nobody has yet said change it. I appreciate that. Yeah, I see that, Gemini. Thank you. The ghost box said whoosh. Did it? No, it hasn't said anything yet. It's on though. I got it on, but I did do some frankincense smudging here because I just got to knock this down a little bit. I want the show to be as good as it can be. I'm okay if weird things happen once in a while, but at the same time, I don't want it to get out of hand. So I did smudge. All right, we'll go with that. You don't want to start messing with natural happenings, even though they're paranormal. Thank you, Deb. I appreciate that. And hi, Stacy. Good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping in. Spirit Radio sounded like a jet plane. I'm not playing one right now. I mean, I have it going here, but it hasn't said anything yet. And it, I don't know what you heard, Renee, but it might not have been from here. So yeah, I did. It is. Well, apparently it is. That's true, Rand Electric. However, mine is, I do have the actual sap that I could burn and go through, but this is just an incense version of it, more low key, not quite as nuclear as true frankincense in the resin form. I do have that as well, and if this incense doesn't knock it down, then I'll go through with sage, but I will burn the regular frankincense if I need to, but it doesn't usually get that bad. Hoping it does happen again. Hoping it does it again. Well, yeah, it sometimes will. I guess we'll never know. But anyway, tonight's show is going to be about Touch in the Darkness, Ghost Hawkers. And I've been corresponding with Virginia a little bit, and she had called in on, Tuesday's show. I think it was Tuesdays or Mondays. Tuesday's show. And she had some things that she wanted to touch base with. She was going to call in last night, but I'm like, with all of the things that she wants to go over, I said, you know what, just call in on Friday night. We'll have more time to spend. And then, one of the things that's really cool about doing the Paranormal Portal is I've had the absolute pleasure of working with several psychics that have been involved in the show. Deb, of course, being one of them. Another one would be Sean. He's been great. You'll see him in the YouTube chat room as Ian's Magic Oak. his friend Joel, who's a wonderful person as well. Diane Swiger has been involved in that. So we've had this amazing resource here on the portal of having these several psychic people directly involved with the show, directly helping people that are reaching out to the show with problems of their own. They've had hauntings. Now it seems we've met a couple more in both Nick and his wife, and now Virginia, and I think that is so cool. And Virginia, when we talk on the phone in a bit here, I want to mention some things to you because I think it's great to have these resources to offer to people that are having problems with the paranormal because, for most people, they just don't know how to deal with this. And granted, I understand that. I get it. It's really bizarre. It's very strange. It's frightening. It is isolating. And you don't want to be that person that everybody whispers about. Hey, check out, Goofy over there. He said his furniture moves, You don't want to be that guy. And so most people isolate or just keep it to themselves and try to cope on their own. And the one nice thing about the portal is that it has allowed people not only a forum to discuss what's happened, but we also have the resources to help those people that really need it. Now, many people have called upon these resources since we started doing the show. And Sean and Dee and Joel and Deb have been absolutely amazing, just extending themselves to help those people that are dealing with something that they can't quite understand. And I've heard nothing but amazing feedback. Now, they do it free, ladies and gentlemen. They don't charge for this. They don't say, yeah, I can take care of that for $80, They do it because of the goodness of their heart, and I think that is just amazing. So yeah, we'll do the call in just a little bit here, Virginia. I just wanted to set the stage a bit for this. Probably after the first break, if you want to call in over that break, and then we'll get to it right on the other side. So in about, about 13 minutes, we'll go to break. So if you call in then, Virginia, that'd be about perfect. Yeah, Stacy Lynn in the chat says, yes, Deb has helped me too, and that's wonderful. It's really cool. Psychics are no lovers, not fighters. Oh, and many musings as a medium as well. That's awesome. And the more of you that are willing to offer yourself as a resource if somebody needs it. Now, I haven't had anybody ask for help for quite a while, several months now, but if you're interested in helping those people, you can certainly get in touch with Sean. I know he and Diane have a group going that is geared towards helping people that need this kind of help. You can certainly reach out to me on the show. Let me know that you're willing to be a service to help somebody if they need it. And you can get a hold of me by emailing paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And, we can have that. You have your name as a resource as well. I don't know. Like I said, nothing's come up lately, which is fine. But I do like to make sure that we are a resource to help those people, not just a place where we can glamorize the stories and talk about it and have a spooky night. I want to help the people that need the help. And, as an act of sheer providence, these amazing people have made themselves known and available. So if you want to be among them, if you have abilities of your own, please let me know, because it's always better to have more than we need and than not enough. So those are some things that I wanted to address at first. But I think that for a long, long time, I was thinking about it a lot today. And I was thinking actually about this very thing. Now, when Deb does readings on the show, she talks to her guides. She has a direct line to her guides that help her to give people readings, that help her to investigate, because Deb is also a paranormal investigator as well. They help her to just deal with life, I suppose. Now, over the course of Deb calling in several times and being on the show several times, the topic of spirit guides has come up, several times. And I was thinking about that. It's like, well, I wonder why I don't know my guides. And Deb and I talked about it, and she gave me some background on my guides, and I think it was more figurative now that I've spent some time meditating on it. And I think I understand it. At first I was like, what? My guides are a what? But she told me what they presented to her, and I've taken some time to just kind of meditate and reflect on that. And I think that we are all in touch with our guides already. And I think that they may manifest, and it's possible that our guides are actually a part of us already. And maybe they're not separate manifestations, but in the universal sense, there is only one energy anyway. We are just manifestations of that energy in different forms. And so the idea that these guides may be a part of us or may not be is just a term of semantics and truth, because all energy is interconnected in the universe. That's just the way I believe it is. And on the peak of that pile is God, is whatever name you want to give it, whatever definition you want to give it, it's up to you. But we are all interconnected, and that includes these earthbound spirits. That includes these non-human spirits that may be vibrating at a lower level, more base, more feral in a lot of ways. Certainly in many cases not as interested in our culture and civilization as they are in the natural order of things. And as are all manifestations of energy. I think the fact that there are energy manifestations of any kind, meaning poltergeist, meaning spirits, meaning living people, meaning animals, means that they are connected to this source. Because without being connected to a source, there's no life. So it's our belief in this separation that causes us to suffer the illusions of that. And I think these spirit talkers are kind of creating bridges and creating dialogues and creating understanding. And I think that that's incredibly powerful. And that's what I wanted to focus on tonight. And referring back to Nick's call-ins, things I've discussed with Deb. And Deb, if you want to call in, I'd love to hear from you as well. If Sean or Dee is out there, it'd be great to hear from you or any of your other ones, many musings. So any of you are welcome to call in and share your experiences and your understandings, because this show is always about having a dialogue, having an understanding of this strange stuff that goes on that, nobody completely understands, but maybe through these dialogues. And the reason that I wanted to do this show was because in the calls throughout the week, I've put a lot of pieces together in my head about what this stuff is, what is going on, what is the dynamics of this. And so I want to take some time tonight to go over that as well. But there's just a lot of things that I think, many paranormal shows gloss over. And there's millions of paranormal shows out there, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not casting aspersions. I'm not trying to cast stones. I'm not trying to start any kind of us or them kind of thing. But there's a lot of people doing paranormal shows that just want to make the paranormal sensational. They want to make it spooky. They want to make it creepy. They want to make it fantastical in the sense that it's, you better beware, you better be careful. And I do recognize and agree with some of that, but I think that it also is beautiful. It is also revealing a truth of the essence of our reality. And I've been saying for a long time that I believe the paranormal is revealing the truth of reality for us. And that's one of the reasons that we have these manifestations of these spirits, is because for some reason on an esoteric level, we need that. Because without that, we get lost in the illusions. If there were no paranormal occurrences, we would be stuck in 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Weekends are for fun, death and taxes, the end. We would be stuck in this mundane quagmire of repetition. There would be no magic in the life. But these paranormal events seem to bring this magic and this mystery and this incredible reality to the surface. So I think that that's why it's important for us to discuss these things, is because it's not just spooky, creepy, weird. Better be careful, be afraid of the dark, be afraid of everything. if we look at a higher meaning for what do these things mean. Now, I do believe that in a lot of cases, a lot of stalking, or a lot of what? Even started a video chat. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to look at the chat as well and trying to understand what I'm seeing. But in a lot of cases, haunting events happen as a result of spirits trying to communicate. And I think Nick touched on this the other night. A lot of times they're not trying to freak you out, but they don't know what to do, how to create a dialogue, how to communicate, because they're stuck. Some of them are so stuck, and they're scared, and they're lonely, and they're confused, and they're desperate, and they just want to go home. And so these fantastically weird, odd things happen that really take people out of their paradigm. They shock the hell out of people. They freak people out, and they cause issues where people don't know how to cope with this, but they're concerned that it's evil. And of course, why not be concerned? We're warned all the time about be careful. Evil wants to lure you in. Your soul is in jeopardy, and et cetera, et cetera. Fill in the blank, fill in the dogma, fill in the religion. It's all the same, and through so many of them. But what if it is a spirit that just got stuck, just got confused, really just wants to go home, doesn't know what to do, moves a cereal bowl because they want the acknowledgement. Like, I am real, I exist, I am here, I'm stuck, and I'm afraid. Help me, please. So when you start looking at those possibilities, some of these hauntings are no longer as scary. Some of them. I'm not saying all of them. There are evil things out there. Don't get me wrong. There are dark, horrible things out there. But I think we forget to consider those. And if you look at the dialogue on a lot of paranormal pages, they go right from 0 to evil. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of a barometer there, a spectrum. It's just no haunting to evil. That's like it. They got the on and off switch. And there's a whole lot in the middle there that gets ignored because it's sensational. The media will always focus on the sensational, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the media too. But I make it a real point in the Paranormal Portal to try to keep looking for the meaning. What does it mean? Why does it happen? Because it can't all be like we're trying to eat your soul. We're trying to eat your soul. They can't all be trying to eat your soul. Some of them have got to be okay. They're just confused. So I think that it's really important to focus on that kind of stuff to create that dialogue, to create that understanding. That's my belief about it, and I hope you guys can agree with that. Right, and MCAT said, that's from the way Hollywood treats the paranormal. And you're right, MCAT, that's exactly right. So a lot of our popular belief about the paranormal is created through movies, and it's created through television shows. And, I really have to, again, give a lot of respect to Amy Bruni and Adam, I forget his last name, I'm sorry. Adam, whoever you are, I forgot your last name. I'm terrible with names. But they do a great job. They don't run in, they don't get all freaky and hyper about it. They have a real sensible approach. And what's the name of their show again? Names. It just occurred to me to mention that. And it reminds me a lot of the old Taps episodes, because I really like the old Taps episodes because the Ghost Hunters is the name of the series, with all the different people. They were Roto-Rooters, Grant, Wilson, and Jay. They were plumbers during the day, and they were researchers at night, was the whole spin of the thing. And that was actually true. That wasn't a fabrication. But when they went into haunted places, they didn't make it dark and brooding and spooky. They would go in and go, "Hi, I'm Grant. This is Jay. We're here to talk to you. Anybody care to talk?" And I really respected that approach because it wasn't sensational. It wasn't like, "Ooh, we're entering the lair of the dark crypt and there's been seen disembodied heads and stuff." It wasn't all that spooky crap. It was just guys trying to make a contact to try to understand what was going on in a situation. And Kindred Spirits is the one I was trying to think of. Kindred Spirits is the modern version of that, and the reason I like that is because both Amy and Adam started out on Ghost Hunters, so they still are taking a page from that playbook and continuing it, and I like their approach. I also like the Dead Files. I think they do a great job as well. I would be really curious to hear whether or not they actually have paranormal events as they're doing those walkthroughs and stuff. She talks about experiencing things like pains and stuff, but I'm curious if anything ever moves and why they don't get that on camera. So, all right, guys, we're going to go to the first break and we'll come back with some Virginia on the phone, I believe. So don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal.
Initiating the truth frequency. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
back, ladies and gentlemen, to our second half hour of tonight's show. The ghost radar just went off, and there was 2 spirits around me. So, again, if there's anything to that, but it is interesting. It's been pretty dormant for a while. But 2 things stopped by for, let's see, for about 7 seconds. They were standing in the room, apparently. Or they were phasing to a wavelength that thing could pick it up. Are they gone? I don't know. They could still be here, but if things go sideways, you'll know why. And welcome back to the show. Tonight we are talking about touching the darkness, the ghost talkers. And by ghost talkers, I mean psychics and those people that can reach out and make communication with that unseen world that seems to wrap all around us. I just pulled all the pictures that we should need. Let's see. Let's get to our call. And this, I think, is area code 870. Is this Virginia?
It is. Hi, y'all.
Hey, y'all. How you doing? Thanks for calling in.
Well, I had an exciting day today.
Oh.
I went looking for ghosts and found me one.
Oh, wow. Where'd you go?
Well, I just went up to this little town close to me up here. I mean, everywhere I go, there's ghosts, so they're not hard to find.
Sure. Okay.
So I asked a lot of questions, so if y'all want to hear about that, I can tell you, or if you want to talk about something else I emailed in to you.
Well, no, I'd love to hear what you found out today, because that's very interesting. What did you come across today? What information did you get?
Okay, well, I've got a storm out there brewing, so might hear some loud lightning in a minute.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, so because of Nicholas and Rhonda calling in and them talking about the gray the other night, I was like, okay, well, I've talked to ghosts before, but I really haven't asked them a whole lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to find me a ghost so I can have a little interview with one. So, all right. So my friend and I, we went and got us some lunch and went to this river, and it's a big park down there, and it was really quiet today. Nobody was down there, just us. So we're having lunch, and I'm telling her about, the things that we've been talking about here on the portal. And so both of us kind of are looking around like, we feel like we're being watched or something.
Okay.
And she is she can see auras really good.
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
I can't unless I close my eye and use my mind's eye.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So she's not used to seeing things like I am. And she's like, somebody's here. And I said, I thought so too. So this person actually, for the first time, she can hear them. It was so exciting. She was really excited. So this person, it was a young guy, and he had come through, and he was just kind of sneaking up on us listening to our conversation.
Uh-huh.
And so we started asking him all about, why was he there and stuff. Well, he was talking to her more, but I was tuning into it. And he said that he had drowned there. It's a very popular river with, people in canoes and floating all summer long.
Okay.
And said he had drowned there years ago. And so I was able to ask him a lot of questions. I asked him questions like, how do we look to them? And he said he just sees us. I asked him about our light, our energy, how that was put out there. Was it brighter than other people's? And because we are able to communicate with them. So I wanted to know because I've heard that before, that, our energy, our auras are brighter than some people's. And he said that ours was very inviting. So he comes over to us to, listen to us. And I think he kind of let on that he did that to everybody, but not everybody seen that he was there.
Sure.
So, so I asked him lots of questions about, like, what did it look like to him? Because we did listen to the story about, Nicholas talking about the woman in the gray area. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, no, he sees everything just like it is to us, like the grass green, the river, everything. And I said, okay, so if you look at the river, can you tell me what color it is? And he said, yeah, it's brown. It's muddy today.
Mm.
And I'm like, all right, you can, he can see everything like we can. And so we asked him, like, why is he there? Why didn't he go to heaven? Because, I believe in that. I know everybody might not, but that's what I believe. That's
Sure.
what I always ask them when I come across them.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he was afraid to. He was afraid to go with the angels. He was scared because the day that he drowned, he had been drinking all day.
Mm.
Corona, actually, he told us.
Okay.
And that he was really afraid to go. And so, yeah, I talked to him about it, and he really didn't want to talk about it. He just was so afraid that he wouldn't be able to go into heaven. I said, were you ever saved when you were, a kid or whatever? He said he was. But
Okay.
he was just that fearful that because of him drinking that day, that he might not be let into heaven. And so, yeah, it was really, really interesting.
That is interesting. And now I'm curious as to how he sees this so differently than the spirit that Nick and his wife bumped into. And I wonder if it has to do with the type of death. Now, it sounded to me like the one that Nick and his wife interviewed had died extraordinarily tragically. This person, of course, it's tragic to drown, but it's kind of by his own hand if he was drinking and was drunk and, but perhaps by virtue of perhaps being murdered, this person was stuck in a state of negativity and anger. And so, I imagine that perhaps, the gray is maybe a self-induced state, but it has to do with not being able to come to terms with the passing, not being able to find the way, being confused, being scared, being, unsure of what to do until, this gray kind of takes over and there is no emotion, but it is maybe the manifestation of all that emotion. Is what occurs to me. I don't know that for sure. I'm just reflecting out loud as it goes into my head. But I just
It sounds good to me.
well, I think it's very interesting, because it is such a different version of that. But of course, it could be very well tied to how that spirit met the end of their physical body, and I think. And I also feel that it's important to explain that because this isn't about someone being right or wrong. You both, I'm sure, are extraordinarily talented people, or all three of you, but they just happened to come in contact with a spirit that was, had their future taken from them. You know what I mean? And so maybe that creates a different circumstance.
And they could be. Yes, a different spiritual realm, though. We don't know how many different areas there is.
That's true.
So, and like you said, she could have created that. But I was listening to that today. I was playing that to my friend, and, I remember him reading that she had said something like, that she wasn't on Earth. I can't remember that part, but I remember catching that. Like, he's still here. He's earthbound. But what he was saying is that person was not. So, and I remember Rhonda saying it, spiritual realm. So, I don't know. We'll have to go back and listen to it again.
Well, that's
true.
I
was. Go ahead.
That's a good point, and I think I'll have to listen to it again as well. I think it was, having heard from Sean, another psychic that has been on the show many times. He talked about how, haunted buildings, these spirits are kind of in a state of being dormant until people show up. And then when Nick was talking about the gray and these lights, it was like, well, that must be the people. these lights are the people showing up, and then those weird emotions, that they experience are those emotions emanating from those people or the lights that they carry. So very, very unique take on it, and it definitely reinforced that. But I can appreciate what you're saying as well, because we've certainly have. So there was a show, an episode of Ghost Hunters, and if you look on the internet, on YouTube, for some of the greatest EVPs ever recorded, this one comes up on there, on at least on one of the lists that I found that go over some amazing EVPs, and it's from the show Ghost Hunters, and Jay and Grant are in an old hotel where the wife of the owner of the hotel died, and she loved the place, and so, but she's believed to haunt the place, and so Jay and Grant are in this bedroom and they're trying to collect EVPs, and they say, "Are you there?" Whatever her name is, and what comes back is, well, "Why, yes, of course I'm here. Where are you?" And then they say, "Can you hear us?" "Well, of course I can hear you. But where are you? Who are you?" So it seemed that this woman was in a state where she was not aware of the investigators being there, that maybe she was seeing a version of her life and was locked in that, but it was in that same space where that was her room. You know what I mean? So she was seeing it absence of them, but she could hear them talking. And so maybe, it kind of gives you a different side of it. Like, maybe some of these spirits are like, really, we're somebody else had mentioned this a while ago. Maybe we're their ghosts, where we walk in and we're haunting them,
Yes, I mentioned that today too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool.
Yeah, that was the thing. Well, and I'll tell you this too. This guy I asked him, I said, "Is there any other ghost here?" And he said, "Yes, there is."
Mm-hmm.
And because I asked him, why don't you want to leave? And he said, "Why would I? It's beautiful here."
Mm.
And I said, "Okay, well, these other ghosts that are here, do you communicate with them? Do y'all just hang out together? How does this work?" And he says, "No, we all, I can't communicate with them. We're all separate. We see each other, but we do not communicate."
Huh.
And to me, what I was getting from that, it's like I was looking out across that field, and it was like, okay, one died at this time, one died at that time, and one died at another time. And if you took a picture of them at that time, then they were kind of frozen in that time.
Mm-hmm.
If you took a picture at that time. But it's all the same background. It's the same river. It's the same, field.
Sure.
But they're separate. And he said, like a bubble. And I said, okay, well, that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way he said. They're in a separate bubble from him. And I was like, wow, this is even weirder, but
right.
I mean, I've heard that other ghosts can communicate, but he says they don't.
Okay, so I wonder.
Yeah, he said that they don't.
I wonder if that's maybe the situation where they're seeing each other as ghosts. I don't know, but this guy's the only one that realizes that they're ghosts. That's curious, very curious, because I've heard other. I don't remember. I kind of heard it as I was listening to a show, but I was kind of doing other things. But I remember hearing them say that in this one instance, there was from two very different time periods. There was a man that had died in a house and his wife from a house fire or something. But ages before that, there were these children that had died in the house from maybe smallpox or something. And so what this psychic was seeing was that this old couple that had passed had basically, in essence, adopted these children that had passed long before, and they had kind of formed a rudimentary family. And I don't know what to think about that. I mean, I don't know. This is such a spectrum of possibility, but I wonder if that's just the case in that one instance, that they're in their own little bubbles, or if that's generally the rule of thumb, but once in a while these, maybe through an act of love, they could create that communication. I don't know. Very strange though, huh?
Very strange. I lived in a house that I discovered that, well, I would be outside, and then I would open the door to go in, and I would hear voices, and I could tell they were female voices, and they'd shut up as soon as I opened the door. So one day I'm out there, and I'm spraying off the porch, and I turn around, and I see a little girl standing in the sliding glass door. So I'm like, okay, yep, there she is.
Uh-huh.
Well, come to find out, her grandma also was there. And her grandmother, I finally says, like, hey, I know y'all are here. Let's talk, you know. And her grandmother said that her little granddaughter died. She was very sick, like I said, with smallpox or something like that. Her mother brought her there. She died there. And for some reason, her grandmother knew that her spirit was still there in that house. So when she died, she stayed there with her.
Oh.
She wouldn't cross over.
Huh.
She stayed there with her. That's the only time I've ever heard of that. Yeah.
Right, but what an act of love then, right? It's too bad that they don't just cross over.
Absolutely.
You know, now that they're reunited, that she doesn't help her granddaughter cross over. You know, it's
Well, I helped them.
well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, that's the other side of it, and we discussed that the other night. But I think that's so important to try.
But
to,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I know what you mean. Like when she's like, okay, it's time to go. Let's go and take her with her. Is what you mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Like after she had just passed, boom, show up, grab her granddaughter, and you know, hit the light and you know, and be done with it. But that is strange. But again, we can't pretend, or at least I can't pretend to know the circumstances that would cause these spirits to not go. I've theorized about it many times this last week, especially. What are they here? Why are they here? Is it dogmatic? Is it their fear? Is it confusion? Is it, you know, how many different reasons are there that a spirit could choose to stay rather than pass on? You know, it could be because there's still loved ones here that they want to look after. I don't know, but there's so many. Then that's kind of the problem. Is that the more you learn, the less you know, because it creates so many more questions. You get so many more questions about this. So. Go ahead.
It's the kids. It's the kids that bother me. And here recently, my friend and I went riding. You know, kind of like how Nicholas was talking about last night, how like he got a vision. Well, I did that. My friend and I were like, well, we got to get out of the house. Where are we going to go? And I would be shown where to go. And so I'm like, okay, we got to turn left on this gravel road, and I know there's a brown sign there, you know, like a state sign or whatever. And she's like, yeah, it's right there. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't know why we're going down this road, but let's just go and just keep your eyes open. And so the weird thing was before I went and picked her up, I had just noticed this name, Murphy, on a sign, like it's pointing to somebody's house. Okay, so we're going down this gravel road. We don't know what we're down there for. And here we're coming close to a graveyard, and she says, Murphy. That was the big name on the tombstone that she saw. And I was like, oops, back up, turn around. This is where we're supposed to be, you know. And, you know, just those coincidences. So we get there, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm sure somebody's here that we need to help. So we're looking around, and I think I see like a flash of somebody walk by me. So I'm trying to focus, and I hear the word wind chime. And all of a sudden, she says, I hear it in my, you know, not out loud, you know what I'm saying, like my mind's eye, everything, what I'm hearing. And I hear the word wind chime. And then she says it out loud. So I was like, okay, wind chimes. Let's go where the wind chimes are. So we go there, and I find this old man, and a ghost old man. And he didn't cross over because his wife must have died in a painful way, and he was very angry at God. And so that's why he didn't cross over. And I said, you still have a chance, you know. And so I just talked to him about it, and he got down on his knees and prayed, and the angels did come and get him. He was ready to go. He was ready. And so he was able to cross over. Well, we noticed somebody else there, and it was a little boy. He was an 8-year-old little boy, and so I asked this little boy why he was there, and I got that he was in a tractor accident. I kind of just visualized that. My vision of what happened was that some kids were playing on a tractor, and I don't really know what happened, but he got ran over. And so, yeah, and he was only like 8 is what I got. And so I said, I asked him, I said, well, why didn't you go to heaven? Because I always ask him that. And he said, and I may cry, y'all. He said, my mama didn't want me to. He said, when I was hurt, my mama was begging me not to leave her. And he said, so I didn't leave her. Wow. That's why he didn't go. And I said, now I have answers. I have wondered that for so long, why so many children are just earthbound. And that's what he said, that his mama begged him not to leave her. And so he didn't. And I said, well, why are you not with her now? Why did you stay here at the graveyard? And he said, because this is where they brought me. And he didn't know any different.
Right.
He didn't know. He said, this is where they brought me. This happened just recently.
And you were able to help him transition then, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
See, children's spirits are the toughest one for me to get my head around because, if there's anything good, kind, and just in this universe, there will always be angels coming to bring them home. That just to me is the only thing that makes sense. I can't make any sense out of them not going and not being brought home to be left to wander. That to me just seems like, I don't know, it just goes against any kind of decency that I can imagine. And maybe it's because I'm a father, that it's so hard for me to wrap my head around that. I know how much I love my child, and I and if there is a divine being up there, and I believe there is some kind of divine intelligence, then it will bring the children home. But how, and to be honest with you, so many times in the paranormal, we hear about, hey, we have this little girl spirit in our house, and so we started buying it toys and stuff, and then the scratching starts, and then the stuff starts moving, and then she changed into a demon, and now we're getting scratched, and it just goes sideways. And that makes sense to me, and I've said this on the show before, because, any kind of predator is going to use the most efficient means to prey on whatever they're after. So, the quickest way to get anybody to open their heart is to present a child, because any kind of decent human being is going to be nearly genetically programmed to help a child, and so if a child spirit shows up, it's like, I'll help you. I'm opening my heart up to you. We're going to take care of you. And automatically, and if it is indeed a demon, 90% of their work is already done. So I always have a great deal of suspicion when it comes to children's spirits, but I'm not saying they can't be here, but it's just the hardest thing for me to understand in the realm of the paranormal is how are there actually children here, but that's just because I don't understand.
That bothers me.
Yeah.
That bothers me a lot too. And I sent you an email today.
Yeah.
You've been busy, so I know you didn't get it.
No,
but it's a tombstone.
Yep.
A headstone of a little boy that's 4 years old. And this happened here recently too, because my friend, she said, I told her, I said, we got to go to that graveyard at the end of town. And she said, I knew you were going to tell me that. I drove by the other day, and I just knew it. And so I was like, okay, well, we have to go. And so, I just go to see what's there. Well, I kind of like when I get there, I try to feel where I'm being pulled.
Okay,
like
Virginia.
The energy will pull me.
Virginia.
Uh-huh.
I want you to hold on to that thought, because we're about a minute away from going to break, and I don't want you to have to interrupt your story.
Okay.
But I do have all of your pictures here, and over the last break, I put them into a folder. So we are ready to show all of those, and you can walk us through what happened in each of these, what are you seeing, and we can definitely zoom in and try to catch some of those things you were finding as well. So that'll all.
All righty.
I mean, if you don't mind hanging on the phone, you don't mind, do you?
I'll hang on. I don't mind.
Okay, because I would love to get into these, because I love being able to show pictures. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, please come over to the YouTube feed if you would, please. It's going to be easiest to show you. We'll do our best to explain what these pictures are for those that don't have the ability to see images. But if you can go over to YouTube, check it out. YouTube.com/Paranormal Portal. We are streaming this live as well. So you can see these images as we discuss them right after the break. But don't go away, everybody. We'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. But I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken I am finished with my silence. I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken
I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second hour of the Paranormal Portal. And if you're watching on YouTube, you've seen the feed go to the credit loop twice now in the process of trying to do that last break. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on for sure. But something's amiss here in the studio, and the adventure continues. I will also restart my computer and all that stuff after the show. Oh, man, my eyes are burning. No, it's not sulfur or anything like that. It's just. But we are joined right now by our caller, Virginia, who is calling in tonight to be a part of the show and discuss her encounters with spirits and her conversations with them and how she's helped. And welcome back to the show, and thank you for holding on during the break.
All righty, no problem. So we were talking about the little boy at the graveyard. I felt like I needed to go there. And so as I was saying, when I go anywhere, whether it's somebody's like, hey, I think I have a ghost in my house, whatever, I just stand kind of in the middle and just see where my energy's pulled. And I was, led to go over by some certain tombstones. There's a big tree there. And so my friend and I are just standing around talking, and I see like something whisk by. And so I said, well, I think I found somebody here.
Uh-huh.
And they come running back by again, and I said, it's a little boy, and he's just running around playing. And so I hear, and so I said, he may be 6, but I don't think so, because, he was just getting it through there. I couldn't hardly see him very good. And then I was like, no, he's only 3 or 4, because he came closer. So we're standing there talking, and I'm trying to locate him, and he runs behind the big tree, and he says, you can't find me. And I told my friend, I said, go around the other side of the tree. And so, like, you're going to get him. And so she went around there playing with him, and he run to me then. And I was able to stop him. And, just like a little kid, just like a little 4-year-old little kid running around playing hide and seek.
Uh-huh.
And, he was just jumping off the headstones and just being a kid. And so we stopped him and talked to him for a little bit. And I, asked him why he was there. And I asked him why he didn't go with the angels. And he said, they scared him. And I said, I don't understand that. How would the angels scare you? How come you did you not want to go see Jesus? Mm-hmm. And he said, who is Jesus?
Oh.
Who is Jesus? And that just broke my heart.
Right.
And yeah. And so he didn't have a clue.
Okay.
And that's how he ended up there. Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting headstone,
he sure did,
too.
He didn't have a clue.
I'm looking at the headstone, and the dates, of course, are, it looks like July 13th, 1912, born, and October something, 1916. So he's just 4, and his name was Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Paul.
We found that after, we were led to that. He took us there. He
Okay.
literally went to that
But I see an interesting
headstone.
figure on top of this tombstone, which I don't really understand, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it doesn't seem like it would be normal Christian kind of ornamentation of a headstone. It looks like some kind of winged, for lack of a better term, like a seal or something with wings. I don't, or a dragon.
It's kind of strange looking, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them out there were the little lambs, and a lot of those had the heads broke off of them. His actually was the only one still intact.
Oh, well, that's
if I remember correctly.
Disrespectful as hell, but yeah, it looks like a dragon actually, because it's got a wraparound tail on around that where the tail is broke on the very top, and then should come around the front. I don't know if you can see what I'm showing on the screen here, but and then there's,
Yes,
then there's,
I never really thought about it. I just thought it was a dove.
oh no, that's definitely some kind of lizard thing, and it looks like a dragon, which I think is really cool because I love dragons. But a lot of people, of course, would equate that to some kind of occultism or something. I'm not implying that in any way, but this certainly doesn't look like unless the child just loves stories of dragons and knights and stuff, and that's why they chose this. The classical Victorian type of stories. But yeah, it's so sad, so tragic. So you were able to cross this child?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, he was very trusting, and I just asked the angels to come and get him, and he went right with them. I told him it was okay, and that Jesus wanted all little children to be with him.
So let me ask you a question. So, what if? Obviously, you don't force these spirits to cross if they don't want to, but at what point would there be a point where you wouldn't want to cross a spirit? Is there any circumstance where you'd feel like, nope, you don't need to cross over, you need to stay here? Is there any such experience that you've ever had where you've made that kind of decision?
The one today.
Okay.
He just, when we were talking to him, he was very adamant about he did not want to hear about it. He had made up his mind.
Okay.
And while we're talking, both of us really started getting I got like a heavy feeling on my chest. It just, I don't know, like when I start feeling a different type of energy, I kind of get a heavy feeling like that. And he's like, I have to go. And I was like, no, I don't want you to go. We'll quit talking about that. I just wanted to make sure, and, just talk to you about it and see if it was something. And I even asked him, I said, is there anybody I can ask up there to come down here and convince you that it's going to be okay? And he said no, that he just really felt like because of his drinking and him drowning in that river, it was his fault, and that he just didn't think that he would be able to, God would let him in heaven. And I played the video back for my friend to listen to the whole story, of the gray. And this guy, he says, well, I said, where do you think that is? And I asked him that, and he said, I don't know, but I don't want to go there.
Well,
and so that even scared him worse.
Yeah. Well, sure. I mean, I guess in his mind, he's probably rolling the dice by going anywhere other than where he is. So it's just like this. I know I'm okay with this, and I'm good. So I guess that's a good point.
Yeah, and he didn't want to. Go ahead.
No, I said I guess that's a good point. I think that makes sense. I mean, if he's happy being where he's at, then more power to him.
Oh, yeah, he is very happy there. He said, "Why wouldn't I be?" I mean, he says we can't. I mean, he was just in his cut-off blue jean shorts that he drowned in. That's what he was in, and so I was like, and like my friend, she's awakening more to all this. Like I said, she's always seen auras and she's seen things and everything, but she was shocked that she heard him first. He
Right.
came through her first. So we were both able to talk to him. And so I asked her, I said, I didn't tell her what I saw him wearing. And I was like, hey, just sit down here and talk to us. He pet my dog while he was there. He literally just sit down, and I could tell he was petting her. And her tail started wagging, and yeah, just like talking to a regular person is how it was. And I asked her, I said, can you see what he's wearing? And she's like, he's not wearing a shirt. And I just laughed because he wasn't. He didn't have anything on but his shorts, his cut-off blue jean shorts. And I asked him, I said, is there anything that you wish you still had with you? He said, yeah, my sunglasses.
Really?
I guess, yeah, he thought he was cool in those sunglasses.
Oh,
He
okay.
said they went in the water. He lost them in the river.
That's really curious. Now I've got to ask you. So, have you had experience bumping into something really dark?
Oh, did you want to go there? Oh, boy.
Well, this is the Paranormal
Yes.
Portal, and it is part of the whole picture, so I can't ignore that. I do like to keep it light, but
Okay.
the darkness can't be ignored either.
Okay. Well, we'll go there.
Okay.
You know what you said earlier, like, it made me think about it. Like, I always ask about, do they want to cross over? And so, I thought about it. What if they really didn't? And remember, the first time I called in, I told you about the two ghosts at my door, and I was not happy with them.
Right. I remember.
And I did kind of, force them to go. I did kind of force them. I'm like, you're going somewhere. It ain't going to be here, So they had to make up their mind what they were going to do. They just weren't going to stay here.
Sure.
I wasn't going to have it. So I don't know. I guess I kind of did force them. But, I have a couple of, okay, I tell you what, let's go with the one the orbs. We'll go with that since you already have the pictures.
Okay. This is from the basement?
That's something. Yes, the basement, the orbs. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me get to those pictures. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this was back down there in Georgia, and a woman I had met, she asked me to come to her house. She was staying in her sister-in-law's house, and she said she's pretty sure the house was haunted, and she thought she knew who was there. Her sister-in-law's son had gotten killed. He had gotten shot, and he was like in his 20s.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I'll come. And yeah. And so I said, I'll come. And so when I got there, this guy, I can't remember his nickname. I can't, what his name was, but he knew I was coming. He was waiting for me.
Okay.
And so he was like, come on. I was like, okay, well, where's the basement door at? Well, he just walks down the hallway and then just disappears through the wall. And I'm like, well, I think I'll take the stairs, And so he's waiting for me down there in the basement.
Uh-huh.
And so, I had to talk to him for a while and find all this out, but it was him. And I asked him, well, what do you do all the time here? Because he didn't get killed there, but he came back home. That's what he knew. So he came back there, and he always stayed down there in that basement. His room was down there.
Uh-huh.
And so he said he just hangs out, and the lady and the girls all wanted to make sure he wasn't peeping in on them,
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, I wouldn't do that. But he just kind of just hung out there in the basement.
Okay.
And so I asked him, I said, why did you not cross over? And he said, because he wasn't saved. And this is the first time that this has happened, that I have come across, someone that just didn't want to go because they were not saved. And so he said, I said, well, do you want to be? And he said, well, I don't want to stay here forever. And I said, well, I can ask the angels to come and help you go to heaven. And this guy literally got down on his hands and knees and prayed for forgiveness
Mm-hmm.
and asked Jesus to come into his heart and save him. And the angel showed up there, and I said, and I mean, he just jumped up with joy. He was so excited that he was not going to have to stay there. And I didn't know I could help him do that. That's my first time. I didn't know. I'm thinking, well, okay, he still has a soul. And if your soul can be saved, why can't his?
Right.
And so he was, yeah. And so he was right there in that basement. And I said, "Oh, don't go too fast. I don't want you to leave yet. I want to talk to you." And so I asked him, I said, "Is anybody else here?" And he said, "Yes, they are." And come forward was a 14-year-old boy. Now, I didn't really get the story on this boy. I just know that somehow or another, those two, I think they had died at different times. And somehow or another, they ended up there together. I guess he just like, "Hey, come hang out with me," you know?
Sure.
And so so I asked him, I said, so see, you'll see two orbs on one of those pictures. There's a big orb right in the front bar there, and then there's another orb right beside it. And I said, "Well, that must be them." Okay, so I asked him, I said, "Is anybody else here?" And he said, "Yeah, the shadow man." And I said, "Uh-oh, where's he at?"
Okay.
Well, he said he's over. Yeah, you have to go to another picture. It's the picture. There's an orb behind the pool table. He said he's over there behind the pool table. So I'm repeating everything, and my friend goes, she's the one taking pictures, and you can see a very big orb over there behind the pool table in the corner.
Next to the
and
in the corner.
so is that nope? It's another picture. It's a big orb on the left corner back there behind the pool table.
Okay.
It's a different picture.
All right, let me back out of this one. I'll keep digging. We'll find it.
Okay. Yeah, it's a big orb back there. So this black figure, it was not like a solid. Well, I mean, come on, he's not solid either. He's a ghost, but it was different. It was just. No, it's still not the right picture. Anyhow, okay, let me keep talking. This guy was like, it was just a black, really dark figure. Like you could see like a head shape, but then it was just all black, and you couldn't outline like, arms or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that boy had told me that the black figure followed the woman around. And I told her.
Okay.
And she said, "I know it." She says, I believe it. I feel it. And this lady has had a lot of bad luck. She's had just like everything that can go wrong goes wrong, and so from what I got from the whole thing was, and this is not just this is what I'm getting from my spirit guides, is that I'm not the one that can get rid of that. Okay. She's the one that has to get rid of it.
Yeah.
She has to do it.
So this is the one you're talking about, though, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it back there.
No, it is curious.
It was a big one.
So, I'm looking for lens flares or anything that might have generated this, but your position seems pretty. I mean, there is some reflective surfaces here. See, orbs are the toughest thing to substantiate, in especially at the advent of digital photography. Suddenly, orbs are everywhere. But this one is a little curious. I actually found something curious on another one that I'm not quite sure what to think about, and let me find that again. It's this one. Now, what I thought was really interesting, keep watching that screen, but honestly, I was really zoomed in as much as I could be, and it could just be matrixing. I'm not claiming anything here, ladies and gentlemen, but I can't recall ever seeing an orb that had letters floating in it. I see like a letter J here, a capital G, perhaps a Q, maybe an I here, and a capital E over here. And I don't know what to make of that. I've never seen that. Again, it could just be matrixing. It could be, I don't know. Very, very bizarre, though. Are you seeing what I'm talking about, Virginia?
Yes, yes. I never noticed that before. I just saw they were orbs, and I've
Yeah.
only heard sometimes that, like you might see a smiley face or something in
Oh,
them. So
sure.
I didn't really pay that much attention to them.
Now, this one,
And
yeah.
I started to send you pictures before that so that everybody could see, like, there's
Right.
nothing there, then it's there. Like,
Yep.
yeah, consecutive pictures. But
this one really has got me really curious. I'm not sure. This one looks like a capital E. The one next to it could be a G, or it could be a G, or it could be a Q, a small, and then maybe a light I here. I'm not sure. A small case. This definitely looks like a capital G. This definitely looks like a capital J or a J form. I don't know what I'm looking at here. This is really strange, though. Generally, most of the
yeah,
orbs.
somebody trying to a name.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if that is indeed a spirit orb, and I don't see anything obviously that would be causing lens flares. That's the other thing that I look for, real reflective surfaces. Potentially, it could be people could claim, well, the door handle is a reflective surface, and it is. You can see a hot spot there from the flash, which may cause some kind of orb, but that would probably be just generally, I can't be sure, but it would probably be over on the right side of the picture, somewhere in this range, if it was reflected from the handle of the door. So I think you got some interesting pictures. Again, spirit orb shots for me are, they're tough to quantify. I'm not going to say that that I don't believe it's possible. I do. It's just that I think that you really have to be careful to rule out the mundane and the dynamics of photography before you jump to paranormal. But I think on this one, what I thought was a little interesting is it is a little bit different exposure than this one. This is darker, so the flash, I don't know if it hit mostly this pole and diffused back here, since this is the hot spot, that the sensor muted all these because this was so bright. But this one,
Well, I lightened that picture up myself before I sent it to you with my phone.
Sure.
Those pictures were dark, but I lightened it up
okay, now what I find
so I could.
interesting is this big one. It's, I don't know. And again, this could be very much matrixing, but it does look like a bald head here, like a skeleton kind of head or something, and possibly an eye there and an eye there. I don't know. I'm again, the orb photography to me is, it can be evidence, but it can also be easily debunked, and it's hard to defend. Now, these other pictures I think are brilliant, though, and I want to get to those. Those are the other ones you were referring to? And I think these are great, too, and please don't take it wrong. I'm not trying to, attack your credibility in any way. I think what you're telling us tonight is incredible. So please understand that first and foremost.
Oh no, I don't care one way or the other. It's
Okay.
just what we found when we saw the pictures, and this is all paranormal stuff. So
Right, exactly.
some pictures are not there, some pictures, they're there. So
well, I
yeah.
appreciate that, because I think that to be an honest host, I have to address those things. Otherwise, I'm not representing any kind of viewpoint. And I don't want to be like, everything's paranormal. So now I'm on the picture of all the Spanish moss hanging down in this is this an old cemetery here, or what am I looking at?
That's the one that I was talking about, where I saw the werewolf and the lizard man the other night when I called in. This is the cemetery.
Wow.
And this is just a reference. This picture is just a reference on how spooky it was. It's a really old cemetery. And I want to tell y'all something about this too, because I have a lot more stories about the cemetery than just what I told y'all the other night.
Sure.
There was actually in the daytime, probably the same day I was there taking this picture.
Oh, hold on a
There
second.
was in those woods.
Virginia,
Okay.
we got like literally 20 seconds before the break. So hold that hold that
Okay.
thought. I'm glad I looked at the clock
Okay.
because we would have ended up in trouble there. But we're going to take the last break of the night,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen. Hang on the line, Virginia. We'll give you another shot here on the other side to go over these pictures.
Okay.
If you don't mind hanging on the line.
I don't mind.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
we're going to take our last break here. And we'll be right back. So don't go away, and we'll cover some more of these photos from Virginia, who is our psychic joining us on the phone tonight. So we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Tell me about the waters of your home.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'd like to remind you to make sure to stick around on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live after the show, because Nikki Colombo is coming up next, and she's always got great shows. Just an amazingly infectious personality. Just a pleasure to listen to. I love listening to Nikki when I can. It's wonderful. So if you haven't heard her show, definitely give it a shot. You're bound to be entertained. She's a lot of fun and a great lady. And she comes from down under. So if you love accents as much as I do, you'll love listening to Nikki. So that'll be coming up next. And then after that comes Paisley Wild on the Spaces in Between on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. And she goes into paganism and helps people understand what it is and what she does as a solo practitioner. And I think it's a wonderful show. And I'm not advocating any religion, of course, but I find all religions intriguing. Every one of them is amazing to me. It's the whole idea of touching the divine wherever you find it. And of course, every religion has some version of the divine. So, I think it's very interesting. So definitely check that out. Now, this whole week, ladies and gentlemen, we've been going into some amazing stories, with the exception of maybe Wednesday's Mayhem episode with Dawn. But every bedtime stories of this week, we've really been focusing and getting some amazing interaction and participation from callers to the show. And Virginia called in once, and Nick and his wife called in twice with some amazing encounters and stories and what they've done. So I thought it'd be neat to kind of close the week before the Mayhem show tomorrow night with Dawn, just kind of wrapping it all up and discussing it all in one big chunk. And Virginia had a bunch more information, and I was like, you know what, could you just call in on Friday? She was going to call in last night, but I knew for as much information as she wanted to discuss, she's just kind of the call-in guest tonight. She's kind of my co-host. So you're kind of co-hosting tonight, Virginia. But I appreciate you taking the time and providing all this information and a peek into what you see and experience. Now, we've had, as I stated before, have had a long-time relationship with Deb Varner, who is just an amazing person. And I hope both you and Nick and his wife will get in touch with Deb. She's been just a cornerstone to me and is about the nicest person you ever want to meet. I know you guys will be fast friends, all of you. And as well as Sean. Yeah. And have you met Diane D. Swagger? Diane is amazing as well and has been so fantastic. She's been on the show, and just this energy that is surrounding the show with all of you, and many musings told us tonight that she's a medium, and I believe that all of the people here listening to the show have a real strong at least empathy, but at the most, I think there's some incredibly talented people that tune into the show. And maybe I'm biased, but the conversations that I have with our listeners show me that everybody is on such an amazing journey. And as we pool all these discussion points and information, I think we're all learning so much as a group, as a family. And I'm just so honored to be a part of it and to maybe help facilitate this. But, I just thank all of you who've been involved with the show and helping us understand this really mysterious, experience of being psychic. Whether, Diane and Deb and Sean and Joel and you and Nick and his wife, many musings. I look forward to having conversations with you and anyone else that wants to share their experiences. I think, every one of you guys that comes on the show and shares your insights and what you're seeing and experiencing, your conversations, brings so much understanding and helps us to quantify this nebulous idea of the spirit. So thank you guys all. And this whole show is dedicated to every one of you guys that have been such a part of what we're doing here and have extended yourselves, your information, your knowledge, your wisdom, and your abilities to help all of us. So thank you very much. But before the break now, we were talking about your pictures and dealing with this cemetery. And if you would please take... Come on. Oh my God, this thing is just giving me hell tonight. Yeah, nothing on the radar, but
Well,
did you hear that?
well, there's
Yeah,
I didn't
those are
hear
your
it.
those. I think YouTube's the only one that would have experienced that. Everybody else is just hearing me cuss at my board. But those people on YouTube just saw the credit reel come up about 5 times in quick succession, as it was hitting one button and it was going to the wrong button. So, ay ay ay, this has been an interesting night. But we're on the screen now with your photos, so let's take it from there.
Okay. So, back there in the pine trees, I was walking along the edge, and this is a really old cemetery. I was actually, I wish I had sent you the link to it, and I tried to post it a while ago in chat, but it wouldn't let me.
Okay.
But it's a super old, and so I don't like to know too much about a place or even a person if I'm doing a reading. I just want to go in there fresh and see things for myself, and then go back and do research.
Right.
And so we were walking along the edge, and I saw soldiers marching through the woods, like a reenactment or something.
Okay.
And yes, and they were, I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, there's a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a drum and everything marching through there. And they had the hats that have the where they're like 3 points to it.
Oh, sure.
And I didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, and so they were wearing like tannish looking clothes. And then I was able to locate one there in the graveyard, because that was just like they were walking through like they didn't see anybody. They were just doing their thing.
Right.
But I did find a soldier there, and he had like an X across his chest. So anyhow, I did research, and that was the Revolutionary War.
Oh.
And the oldest grave there was a soldier from the Revolutionary War. And I remember it came to me that the buttons on his jacket were wood buttons.
Oh, wow.
That's what I got when I was there. I was like, yeah. And so that place is just so full of ghosts. So many ghosts. And yeah, no, I didn't help all of them cross over, because they were just everywhere.
What are these kind of wrecked brick structures? Are those crumbling mausoleums, or what's the story with those?
I guess I really don't know. It was
Okay.
just, yeah, everything's crumbling. There was holes and things. It was very creepy, especially to be there at night. And that's when I saw the werewolf come out of the woods. And there's 2 parts to that cemetery, and I think this is the oldest part, and then there was a newer part. But when I was talking the other night about going, go ahead.
I should tell you that there's a long group of stories that claim that Bigfoot are known to linger around cemeteries as well. So maybe perhaps this werewolf was actually a dog man, and that might play into that whole, that the fact that perhaps they do as well.
Well, this area is very close to where that Christopher guy went missing. He was working on the, I don't know if you know, I wish I knew his last name right now. They're kind of speculating that Bigfoot might have got him. He was on the West show, or Sasquatch Chronicles. Wes was talking about it not long ago. But it is really close to where that guy came up missing. Where I lived down there, I knew there was cougars, so I was like, oh my gosh, I hope a cougar didn't get him. And it's just, I mean, if you mention cougar down there, you might as well mention ghosts. Everybody thinks you're crazy. They're not there. But I never heard Bigfoot. But
well, Bigfoot. There's a lot of stories of Bigfoot haunting graveyards, and not haunting as in spirit, but just being seen in graveyards, around
For real.
graveyards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for real. Yep, didn't meet him that night, but he might have been out there watching us.
Yeah, you never know. Wow.
Okay, so there's a picture that we just took these pictures in the daytime, and there's another. Let's see, what did I send to you? Oh, the church. Did you see the ghost in the window of the church?
The wooden church, the wooden building.
Yes, that was the old church there.
Okay, so I did look at it quickly. Yeah, I do see a definite silhouette there, peeking out around the edge of the
Okay,
window.
okay, you can go to it, or we can talk about that big tree right there. Either one, whatever.
Oh no,
Okay.
I'm actually.
So that right window.
Yep. So I'm zoomed into it, and yeah, you can see like somebody's leaning out, kind of halfway behind the wall, halfway into the window. So you got.
Oh, good grief! I didn't even see that. That's not even what I'm talking about. Look through the other window. Zoom in really far.
Do you see
Look
this
in the
now?
other window, the bottom right.
Do you see this?
There's a face. I see that now. I didn't even see that before.
Yeah, it looks like his sleeves are rolled up, and that would be a forearm. Yep.
Wow, I didn't even see that before. There was a man there, and there was a woman there, ghost.
Okay, so this other window doesn't.
My face is in the very bottom. In that window, the very bottom middle window pane is where the face is that I saw.
Here? The very bottom.
No, the window. Go to the not this window, but the window you're seeing through that window, where the pane is. Go no. Go back where you were.
Okay.
You're in the right spot.
Okay.
No, not there. Go back to where you were.
All right, you got to.
Where you saw the silhouette.
Yep. Okay.
In that window where you saw the silhouette, if you zoomed all the way in, the window through that window, there is a face in the bottom pane of that window.
Oh, way back here. Okay.
Yeah, go all the way where we can see the bottom. And there's a face. Yeah, when I sent that to you, I was like, "Oh, I didn't tell you through that window to the other window."
Okay. Yeah, I think that could be, but I think that could possibly be matrixing too.
No, go on up.
Oh, up?
Go on up. Go up. Keep on right there in the middle. Do you see his face? The middle pane, right there, face.
Right on the top before you get to the very top.
You're circling it right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Right there. That's the face I saw.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's like you can see eyes. It's like a mustache. That's what I saw.
Okay. Well, to me, the one leaning out off of the side there is much more much more compelling.
I didn't even see that one.
Yeah, but do you see it now? You see it now, though, right?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, that's.
Yes,
so,
absolutely. Kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what I saw, and this is apparently a screen.
Wow.
This isn't even a window. This is a screen.
Yeah.
And perhaps it's matrixing from that buckling. That is possible. I'm not saying that, but God, that sure looks like a silhouette of a person right there, leaning out from.
Does.
Yeah, and then the rolled up sleeve, the forearm. That's what I'm seeing.
Good eye.
Well, thanks.
Somebody say, Diane's saying I see several there.
Oh yeah.
Well, wait till she sees the tree.
Okay, so you want me to go to the big tree?
Yeah, that tree. Oh my goodness, there's so many faces in that tree, and the longer you look at it, the more you see.
Okay, so which part of the tree now again?
Okay, it's gonna be it's the other picture, not this picture.
Not this picture. Okay, let me zoom out
no,
again.
No, not this picture.
All right.
That picture right there. Yeah.
Okay. So.
All right, zoom in to the bottom right side of that tree.
Of the trunk or the
and
Spanish
zoom in.
moss?
Yeah, and the trunk. Everything's kind of at the bottom of it, and even that little brown or dark shadow at the very bottom of that tree. There's even looks like a face in it.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
You got to zoom on in more than that, probably.
Okay. Well, this is all the way zoomed in that I can do. Um,
Oh, okay.
oh, I
Well, I'm
see.
not going to be able to point them out.
So now I see something. Now this could very well be matrixing too, because there's a lot of debris back there. But that does
Mm-hmm.
resemble a face looking over that tombstone.
Yes, I had seen that one too.
Shoulder,
Yeah.
shoulder, yeah, and then a head. It might even be standing in front of it. I'm not sure, but I don't know. That could be. Where else should I be looking now?
Well, there's almost looks like there's one right above that, kind of to the left of it, right above it. It's a bigger face.
Okay. All the way.
But yeah,
Mhm.
but go if you go where we can see a little bit more of the tree,
Okay.
like so. Let's see. Almost looked like there was one at the very bottom of that in that dark. Okay, go on like you're going right now, and I'm gonna stop you here in a minute. I'm gonna show you the guy with the it's almost like a handlebar mustache, but it literally looks like one of those mustaches that where their sideburns and their mustache was together and then they shaved everything else. If you go out too far, I won't be able to find it.
Go
See where
out.
that green, right where you're at, where the green tree is. Yeah, go in some more and then I'll
In the
point
background
them
there,
to you.
right next to
Yeah,
the tree
yeah, right
trunk.
there. Just zoom where that green is. It's going to be in that moss to the right of that green tree in the back. Does that make any sense? You're going to have to zoom in some more and I can see it. I have my screen little. I guess I need to make my screen a little bit bigger. There we go. Now maybe I can see better. Let me try and figure out where this guy's at. Okay, his face is kind of sideways. Okay, you're right. Okay, wait, stop right where you're at. Where your mouse is. Go back down. I can see him. He's right. Take your mouse down. Right there, right there. Right there. You're on his mustache. You're on his mustache.
Okay. Yeah, that does resemble a face.
There, you can see a chin, you can see an ear, a cheeks, nose, eyes, mustache. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, with a beard, or no?
With one of those mustaches that goes over to the sideburns, you're seeing another face right there. You're circling another face.
Oh,
The
okay.
one I was pointing at's above that.
Oh, this
I'm
one.
telling you, the more you look at this, the more faces you can find.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it is subjective, but perhaps a psychic can see these things a lot clearer than I can. But I do see what could be faces, but with pareidolia, I don't know what is my desire to find a face or what is actually a face. So for me, that's where I wrestle with these kind of things. But I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's not the case, but just so you know, these to me are the hardest to quantify.
Yeah. You'll just have to study it some more then some other time and see if you can see any more faces. I used to have this on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I used to have it on there, and everybody was like, "Oh, what did you see that face?" I mean, it's like the longer you look at it, the more you can find in there.
Sure.
It was weird when I zoomed in on that and started seeing it. I was like, "Am I really seeing a face? Could it be possible?
Well,
Are they just?" Hiding in there, or I don't know how, but I mean, there's a lot of ghosts there, so.
Sure. It is a cemetery, so it wouldn't surprise me a whole lot if these were actually faces. It's just if they are, they're very subtle, and it's very camouflaged into the what am I trying to say, the texture of the moss and all of the other debris in there. that maybe the human mind does try to make order out of reason, and that's where the term pareidolia comes from, in that we have a desire to
Yeah.
find familiarity in chaos. And so that is a consideration. But again, I'm certainly not attacking this or debunking it in any way. I just can't know. For me, it's hard. But I do see what you're talking about, and I think that
Oh, yeah.
it is very interesting and it is very compelling. And I'd love to say, yeah, those are all faces, but I don't know. I just can't know.
No, I don't know either, but they sure look like it in a
Sure.
weird kind of ghostly way.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah.
But these are wonderful.
What
You did great.
there was another one. If you go to the other side of the tree,
Okay.
there was one. Go to the other side of the tree, and we'll. I mean, there were several, but one just kind of stood out more. You'll have to keep going to the other side of the trunk of the tree. There's a tombstone beside the left side of the tree there.
Okay.
The trunk of the tree.
Oh,
yeah,
the trunk.
it's that.
Over in here.
Okay, well. Okay, go down. It's the tombstone to the left of it. There looks like a face right on that one as well. Dang, it looks like a skull face too. It's down at the trunk, and there's a tombstone at the very bottom down there. Seeing how there's just the more I look at it, it's like the more I can see stuff. And I don't know, it's my mind playing tricks with me or
Right.
whatever. But
Yeah.
when we took these pictures, I just took time on my computer, zoomed them all in just to see if I would find anything, any ghosts walking around or whatever. I never expected to see faces in the tree. Okay, see that tombstone right above you right there? That tombstone.
The white one? Or
That big white one that's,
in the
right
background?
above where your little mouse is. There looks like a nose right there. Big old nose.
Oh, sure. Right here. Right here. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Is that my, you got to wait for
I
the
don't
delay.
know.
You'll have a delay on your feed, but I'm circling what looks like a big old nose.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't
It's
expect to see things that look like faces in that. I was kind of looking for an apparition to be walking by or something, and it just kind of freaked me out. I was like, is this real? What am I seeing here? Could this
Right.
be possible?
It
Because
could be.
I don't know what I don't know.
No,
And I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks on me.
Right.
Yeah. I'm very open-minded about it all. I don't, it don't bother me one way or the other because some people see things, some people don't.
Right, and I respect that. I appreciate that you're not taking offense to what I'm saying, because that's not my
Oh, heck
intention.
no.
Never.
I wouldn't have sent these. I wouldn't have ever sent these in to be looked at if I was in a person like that, you know?
Yep, exactly. So we are about out of time, Virginia. So thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight and sharing all of this wonderful information with us. It was absolutely phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to your continued participation with the show.
Cool. I want to thank you, though, because you have opened this up for several of us that have recently found y'all.
Mhm.
And, we learn from each other so much. And it helps me hearing other people's stories, too. And I'm just so glad that I have come across you. You're doing a great thing. And I really appreciate you, too.
Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful night and a great rest of your weekend. I hope you'll tune in tomorrow night, too, because
Thank
we
you.
have mayhem coming up.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Good night.
All
Virginia.
right.
See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
That was wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Colombo will be coming up next on TFR iHeart. Tune in and TalkStream Live, and her guest tonight is Billy Ray himself, who's a great guy and should be a really interesting show. So don't miss that. And later on, after that, comes Paisley Wild, The Spaces Between. Great show as well, and that's a brand new one on TFR and one we're all excited about. So there's more new shows coming to TFR, but I'm not going to say anything yet because it's not my place. but it's one I'm really excited about happening. So I'm not sure when it'll happen exactly, but I know it's on the drawing board and it's being put together, and it's going to be one you all are going to love. So anyway, guys, that about does it for us tonight. Don will be joining me tomorrow night here again on the portal, and we will get into some mayhem, I'm sure. We have a lot of fun doing those, and hopefully my computer will quit being haunted. So, so I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'm going to go try to make some order out of chaos. But love you guys. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow night here on the portal. Good night.